Are custom knives worth it? How many times has that question been posed in our hobby, in the industry? Are they worth the money? Are they worth the time to create? Are they worth the time to hunt down? All these questions have been asked countless times by countless people in countless situations. So I wanted to just give you guys a perspective on my thoughts on that question or on those questions, and just sort of share how I view custom knives. I haven't owned a ton of them, probably 3 or 4 maybe, because I had one other mixed strider custom that I sold. Yeah, I think it's only been 3, if I'm remembering correctly. So thinking about the question of are they worth the money, I would say, and you'll hear other knife reviewers say this, I'm not trying to just copy what they say, but to be honest, it really just depends on how much you want the knife and how much you it can also get into how much you really relate to or like the maker. I mean, a lot of people don't like mixed strider. He definitely has a reputation. There's some questions about, did he actually serve and all this stuff, and what was his role in the armed forces and everything. So, do you resonate with the maker? On the other hand, he does make great products. I mean, he's made products for years that have been tested in harsh conditions all over the world. They are well made. I think there's his custom knives, I should say, I think the consistency is pretty high. Some of the production models, I've heard things about Lock Rock and Lock Stick and all that stuff. But, just looking at the custom models, they seem pretty consistent. So, do you resonate with the maker? Can you get behind their ideals or their values or, their work? When it comes to mixed strider, I don't really care about all this stuff surrounding his service or whether he served or didn't serve. I could really care less. I don't really get into the makers that much, to be honest. I don't really follow them that closely. I don't rush to the knife shows to meet them or anything like that. So that portion for me doesn't really play that much of a part. I'd say probably more so what it does is the community. So that'd be another question. How much do you get into the community? If you really get into the community of a custom knife maker, like you meet the other people who enjoy the products and you kind of get to know them, just see how they are, see how much loyalty there is there and everything like that. That's another question you might want to ask that might be able to help answer whether or not these things are worth it. For striders, yeah, there's a lot of people who look at striders and they're like, oh, they're not worth the money. Mixed striders lied about this and that, and people who carry striders are, closed-minded. They don't like other products, all this stuff. But my experience with that community is it's the best community that I've ran into out of any in the knife community itself. I'm talking like Spyderco community, Benchmade community, Holt, Curtis, any of those, Grimsmo. The Strider community is the most loyal, helpful community that I've ever been a part of since I got into this hobby about 10 years ago now. It's amazing just how much they help each other and how much they really look out for each other. I remember one of the guys that was really big in that passed away a few years ago. And there's still like tributes to him. And I purchased a knife from him personally way back when. And yeah, it's amazing the loyalty that comes out in that community. So that's something you might want to consider if you're looking at buying a custom knife. Again, striders definitely are not for everyone. No custom knife is. But if you really get behind the maker or the community, that may be a good reason to really look at buying one. Because then when you do buy one, you really feel more a part of that, and you can kind of show what you have and talk about yours versus somebody else's, and just meet some great people and really have good experiences there. There's obviously the financial factor. What can your budget bear in terms of purchasing a pocket knife? I mean, if you're looking at customs, you're probably looking anywhere from 1,000 to some are lower, but in general, probably anywhere from 1,000 up to 5,000 for some Marfiones, and probably even higher for knives that I don't even know of. But can your budget bear it? Maybe you can sell some stuff. That's what I do a lot. I talked about the Nirvana in a separate video, and about how I was able to afford that. I sold off a bunch of my Lego Star Wars sets. I try to stick with hobbies that maintain a decent amount of value. That way, if I see something that I want and maybe I don't have just the cash sitting around to buy it, I can sell off some other things to buy that, which is a consideration. Like in the knife hobby, if you don't buy something relatively quickly, it may disappear and you may not have another chance, or you may pay high secondary prices. So yeah, I mean, can you afford it? That's always a question. And that one really no one can answer but you. Maybe there's a month where you can live on ramen and, I don't know, pork rinds or something the whole month, and sacrifice to buy the custom that you want. So yeah, looking at the community, looking at the maker, looking at the price, those are 3 considerations as to whether a custom would be worth it or not. The other big one for me is, how much do you appreciate craftsmanship and workmanship in a pocket knife? If you just need something that's functional, that works well, that's going to last a long time, I would not recommend a custom. That's not to say that they won't. However, if you're looking at just those qualities, I would look at like a ZT, maybe a Spyderco PM2, something like that. You can buy very functional, well-made pocket knives that'll last, a lifetime, that you don't have to pay $2,000 for. So that's something else to consider. Like with these, I mean, the Strider, I appreciate the scale design, and I appreciate this magma finish on the lock side. I mean, I think it's a really cool finish, and it would take a lot of work to do something like that. I appreciate the nightmare grind on the blade, but those things, do they really help functionality? Not really. They just look cool. Like with the Nirvana, I like the way this handle looks a lot. I think it's really cool. The acid dip blade is something unique you don't see a lot. And you can see and feel like this knife, it's really well made. Everything's very smooth and rounded off. It feels really nice in the hand. It's very solid. This is an integral knife. As you can see here, it's just one solid piece of titanium. And yeah, I just really appreciate the workmanship of these 2 custom knives that I decided to purchase. So, but I'm an engineer by trade. Maybe it relates to that somewhat, I don't know. But if you do, then I would suggest looking at them. I mean, if you can see little touches that were done to a custom knife that maybe wouldn't have been done to a production knife, and you appreciate those, then I would say it's definitely worth looking into them. And I think those are probably the main considerations I would suggest if you're looking to get a custom knife. I would say probably one of my pieces of advice would be, I wouldn't look at them the same as you look at the rest of your knives in your collection. You may have some exclusives. You may have some different variants of like a 940 or whatever, but don't buy don't try to treat customs in the same way, as in like you buy one version and then you immediately try to buy the other version of the same knife. I would try to stick with your, like, if you see one from Strider and it's like $4,000, but that's the only one that you want, I would focus on that one. Don't try to get multiples, because in my experience, having multiples of something as special as a custom, even if they are slightly different, is just going to dilute the enjoyment of the custom. Because the custom, in my opinion, it's supposed to be very unique and really one of a kind. So I would hesitate buying multiple variants of like an SNG, like multiple custom SNGs or something like that. I would try to stick with maybe like one of each. Like, I'm not going to buy another Nirvana because it would only dilute the specialness of this one, in my opinion. Maybe that was a little confusing, but I tried to articulate it as best I could. So yeah, just some thoughts on custom knives and buying custom knives. I don't regret buying these at all. I think they're great knives. I carry both of them. I use both of them. And yeah, I guess if you guys have any comments or questions, leave them below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. And we will talk to you on the next one. Have a good day. See you guys.